All right, I'm clicking recording in here. So I got the backup audio, and there goes the audio recording, and you are good to go.
Hello, it's another Friday here on the V Life Podcast on PodcastDetroit.com. And it's your host, Adrian, the lovely Nakia05, if you want to reach me on IG. And I have a special guest, a co-host here today, Mr. C.
Yes.
Introduce
How
yourself.
you doing, everybody? I'm C. I'm your co-host today.
Thank you. And today on the V Life Podcast, we are talking about sports and sport-related things, sports and relationships. I did a post on Facebook just to see where everybody were, how they were feeling about sports. And so far, I got some comments back about what people been doing since they haven't been able to watch sports. And it's been, PS4, Pornhub, people been watching The Walls, just a bunch of little stuff. Charles, what about you? What have you been doing so far since, besides watching reruns, of course, of sports shows? What else have you been doing?
Watching horror flicks.
Who?
Horror flicks. No. Just been watching reruns of football, basketball, baseball, and it's wearing me out. I want sports to come back immediately.
I'm sure a lot of people do, because we've been seeing, like you said, different highlights. I did hear something about maybe in July, basketball. We might get a small snippet of a season with basketball in July.
Well, and
it's not definite.
Have you been paying attention to the rule proposals that are coming out?
It's not all of them now. What have they been said about how they're gonna go about it?
So like my buddy Bob is obsessed with baseball, and so like he shot around like the draft rules that were floating around, and it's crazy. Like, so like teams basically have to like quarantine themselves in the hotel. They can't go out to restaurants, not even the restaurant in the hotel that they're staying in. There's no spitting allowed on the field. Everybody has to wear.
How hard is that?
Well, I mean, have you watched a game? It's pretty hard. Pitchers.
I'm a big baseball fan.
Yeah, pitchers aren't allowed to lick. You're not allowed to lick your fingers. I mean,
right.
Every pitcher does that. If you're in the dugout, you have to be wearing a mask. If the phone gets used, it has to get sterilized after each use. No mascots. That was one that kind of surprised me. So like the Philly Fanatic and Rory the Tiger and those guys aren't allowed to go or aren't allowed to be part of the games. At what point do you just go, this isn't worth it?
Exactly.
My take on it is, how are you going to go 9 innings with a mask on your face? How are you going to go 9 innings without spitting?
Well, on the field,
be a difficult thing right there.
On the field, you don't have to wear a mask. On the field, you don't have to.
On the field, but I'm just saying, how hard is it to go 9 innings, also without spitting? Because it's just nature when you're out there, sweating, and you're going to spit, regardless.
Baseball players chew tobacco. They can't smoke that whole time if they're smokers. So that's pretty much, most of them spitting out tobacco or chewing gum. It just seemed like it's gonna be weird. I did hear something about them saying that they was gonna be, of course, the fans wouldn't be too much around, and maybe they was gonna be doing it in a different state or something like that, a different field.
One of the proposals was that basically all the games would happen in the low impact states, places like Arizona.
Right.
Arizona.
That's where I seen. He said they was probably do most of the games there.
Either Arizona or Florida. Those are the two spots that I've been hearing down there in Florida, where their minor league teams are, where they train at, basically.
Yeah, all the spring training. Yeah,
in Arizona, in the Cactus League and the Grapefruit League, something like that.
Now, also, of course, we all seen the Michael Jordan thing, the Last Dance. That it was it wrapped up. What was it? This last Sunday.
Last Sunday. Yeah.
So, that was a big deal. Like, I had like, guys was just going crazy about that. Like, don't talk to me, right? Sunday, I cannot do nothing. I got to dedicate these 2 hours to hear what happened. And, I see a lot of people was really into that situation. I don't know if it's because of just it being Jordan, a living legend, or is it because, they didn't have anything else sports related to watch during this pandemic that wasn't already owed?
Let me chime in on that right quick for you. The reason why that they're watching the Jordan documentary is because there's no sports. If I believe if sports the NBA finals or NBA playoffs were going right now, they really wouldn't be in tune to Michael Jordan's documentary. He brought it out at the right time, I do believe.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I don't think they would have released that till the summer easily. If the playoff, because we're in playoff season right now, for basketball basketball and hockey at least. And it's weird. I mean, and then just doubling back, like I know again, my buddy's he's a huge soccer fan too, and he's been watching I believe it's called the Bundesliga, the German league games, and there's no fans. And,
Right.
and like that, and that's the other part of it to me is how much like I know they've been showing wrestling without fans in the arena, and now they've got soccer without fans in the arena.
MMA, of
course. How much of an event is the fans? Like I think
Right.
like a lot of it is the reaction, a lot of it is the crowd noise and the buzz and the cheers and the boos and all that stuff.
Right.
Again,
but you know what that does? Not to cut you off. What it does, it takes away from the sporting event. It takes away from the fan that's sitting on the couch, because you're used to seeing the fans, react to what you're doing. You like when you hear the boos, the cheers, you like, man, and that's your team playing, and you hear the cheers, you like, yeah. But arena with no fans is just like listening to crickets chirping.
Well, yeah.
So,
well, and if you're in the other room and you hear you hear a loud cheer or you hear a loud boo, to come running and see what you just missed.
Exactly. Like, and then I think about it from the aspect of just like, the money part. Like, how are I know they have contracts, but I'm sure some of those contracts are based off how much money they're bringing in. They paying them based off that.
To me, that's why I think they're pushing so hard for this, because from what I understand, every major league sports team, whether it's baseball, basketball, football, hockey, basically they're profitable before they ever step on the field because of the television contracts. And so that's why, hey, we don't care about the fans being there. We don't care about any of this other nonsense. Let's just get on a field and get the TV revenue coming in, because that's what they're counting on.
That's the biggest
stream
of money, and I agree with you on that. But about 30% of that comes from the fans in the stadiums also. So it's kind of hard.
I'm just trying to figure out, like you said, yes, people will watch it, and like you said, you do get a lot of money from the streaming, from the television, but then it's also going to be that little factor is, are you going to still get the same amount of people tuning in? Because some people, when you at home, it's more distractions versus you got tickets, you taking multiple people, the kids, everybody, versus now it's just,
and those $12 beers add up. I was going to say, those $12 beers and $40 parking spots add up. Yeah.
Exactly. But you know what I mean? Some people, they enjoy that atmosphere more or less than just sitting down. Just like the fireworks. You can watch the fireworks on TV every year, but you don't go, half the people don't do that. They want to go out and watch them live.
Now you saw the announcement about that, I assume.
Yes, I did. And I'm just, I just really, this whole situation is just taking me aback, because I just don't know. I like socializing. I like to be around people,
I'm losing my mind. I'm right there with you.
I mean, I like to socialize. I like sporting events also, going there, just being in the crowd and everybody cheering. It's fun. But the thing is, I like watching it on TV also, because you still can get a rush off of watching a basketball game on TV, watching guys play basketball, because you get a up close feel from basketball, so it works both ways for me.
Well, yeah, for most men, I would say it probably wouldn't matter as much as long as they're actually watching the game. I don't think that they will be as caring about where they're watching it. But I do think for some of the women that watch it, you know, a lot of women, some of us are into sports, and for the most part, some of us go with your guys just for the fun and just to be in the atmosphere. And, you
Exactly.
know, once again, unless you're going to be having parties and stuff like that, like, you know, are you, just say for instance, are you going to probably take off work knowing that you got to go to work for just to sit at home and watch a game versus, you know, if you got tickets to a game?
Yeah,
You
versus
know what I'm
opening
saying?
day or yeah.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? So I still think it's gonna be some type of money or revenue loss, obviously, but I think it'll be significant.
But you got to
We'll
look
see
at it
how
like,
much our the fans really matter, because you know everybody always supposedly thanking the fans that made it possible, but yet you trying to tell me you can be okay without us? You know
but you
what
got
I'm
to look,
saying?
right. I understand what you're saying, but you got to look at like big sports cities also, like LA, New York. When you know, just for example, if the Lakers come to town, and you know those bars are filled up, you know, around those
Yep.
arenas, you know, and if you
Exactly.
look at it, if you want to look at it a little closer, let's say boxing, like Floyd Mayweather, he's fighting. In Vegas, if there's no fans in the stands or anything like that for a Floyd Mayweather fight, Floyd Mayweather screams a lot of revenue for Vegas. So
Right.
look at the Raiders. When the Raiders are playing football in Las Vegas, because that's going to be a hot ticket. They're already sold out right now. So
Mm-hmm.
if you look at the Raiders are a big business, and the businesses around there, they thrive off of like the Raiders. They're gonna thrive off boxing events. When you don't have no fans or anything coming in, flying in, you see a lot of celebrities coming into town just to go to those big events.
Right, that's true, and that makes me wonder about, you know, the entrepreneurs, the people that survive off these events. Just like, you know, we talked before day months ago about how St. Patrick's Day
Mm-hmm.
kind of cut into a lot of the, you know, the dive bar money, stuff that people use to get through the year, money that people expect to get. Like, what about them? Like, do they just, you know, like you said, you got all this money that's also being generated by these games and people going out to bars and restaurants afterwards. But how are these businesses still going to survive if everybody's sitting at home watching the game? You know, would you go just
Exactly.
DoorDash?
You just answered your own question, because they're not going to survive. No business can survive without no patrons there. And if you don't have no
Mm-hmm.
patrons in the stands, no bar is going to survive. No restaurant is going to survive. So think
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I was just down. I was down to Detroit Shipping Company yesterday, where we have our downtown studio, and just talking with them about reopening plans and what they're looking at, and then you've got today an extension of the stay-at-home order and the state of emergency that happened out to June 12th and June 19th, I believe.
Right.
So like but I see a light at the end of the tunnel now, at least, and hopefully it's not an oncoming train, where you've got like some legislation that's getting pushed through for like I guess I'm looking at it hyper local, just from a Detroit area, a Detroit focus, where now
Right.
you've got legislation that's starting to make its way through Lansing, that wants to finally let Detroit do what a lot of other areas do by creating drinking districts, where
Oh,
so because I know, like, I mean, everybody thinks of New Orleans and places like that, but like even Toledo does this. So like, how do we not have this right? Where like, hey,
exactly.
you know what? If I want to take a drink from Detroit Shipping Company and I want to walk around the corner to Temple Bar, I can take my drink with me and
Right.
walk around with
That's
it.
a good idea. I
Or if
like
I'm
that.
in Hamtramck and I want to walk from bar to, there's what, 30 bars inside of a square mile in Hamtramck. If I want to walk from bar to
Mhm.
bar, fine, go ahead and do it. And to me, like, that's the kind of stuff that will help the bars and restaurants come back at the other
Yeah.
end of this. But it's still going to be a long road. Like, you've been down at Detroit Shipping Company. I mean, that's a place that relies
Mhm.
heavily on these nice weather days, and that that
Exactly.
especially the summer months when they've got that outdoor courtyard, and that's one of the things, when I was there yesterday. You remember that big tent that they had, that big
Mhm.
enclosure in the outdoor
Yeah.
courtyard inside? That's now outside. in the back parking lot because in fact, they were just installing it back there when I was there because they're trying to convert as much of their operation as possible to support outdoor activity.
Right.
As soon as this lightens up a little bit, and I think that's what you're going to see a lot of because looking at like what's happened in Ohio, what's happening in Wisconsin, where the bars are opening and some of the restrictions that they're putting on them. I mean, my God, you almost have to be like Tim the Toolman Taylor as a bar owner, to build these plexiglass enclosures around the bar, and all the bar staff has to have all this gear, and
Exactly.
but if I can walk in and grab a beer and then walk outside and hang in the tent area, sweet. If I can
Exactly.
if I can grab a
That
beer and
takes some
take a lap
time to
on,
get used to something
Yep.
like that. It's
Yep.
going to take a lot of time to get used to looking at plexiglass, walking into a bar, getting your drink, and I mean, it's just like a whole different world to me.
Yep.
Yeah, it is. It's so foreign to just, go inside of a grocery store and see everybody with a mask on, and like you said, all of this glass and all these little things. Stay 6 feet away. But also, I do think that, like you said, Dave, in the summer, I'm an outdoorsy person, so I would prefer to be able to grab my drink and walk somewhere else because I like to move around, see
Yep.
the scenery. So I don't think that'll be a lot of issues for a lot of people because I do believe, and like you said, in the summer that you want that feel. Like that's why it works in New Orleans and some bars in Miami and LA.
Yeah, there are other places that have done this very well.
Yeah, because it's like, and you would be surprised how much more business will generate that way because you are outside. Now you don't have to be cramped up in this one building, 50 people next to each other.
Yep.
You got outside activities going on. And I think that will help because I do think about a lot of the restaurants and bars that opened up that has already made that accommodation to have patios for that type of thing. So
or
I
even
think it might.
even the super microcosm of, I mean, just think about it with like your own group of friends. If there are 5 or 6 of you hanging out, you no longer have to have the dude, would you finish your drink so we can go to the next place conversation.
Exactly.
Like, okay, just pick it up and take it with you. We're walking over. Come on.
Right. Exactly.
I mean, I look at it, it's a novel idea. I like the idea, but I'm saying, I mean, if you're going from bar to bar, and other people are going from bar to bar, doesn't that, you think, spreads that coronavirus or whatever you want to call it, COVID-19, around from bar to bar? I'm just asking.
I mean, I mean, I guess I would ask how so any more than usual. I mean, because I look at it like there are, like, looking at the down, like, again, I'll keep it in the Detroit, demographic. How many people go to one bar and that's all they go to?
Yeah, some people do.
I mean, yeah, some do, but I mean, like, usually, because like downtown is still either, just the whole like Detroit versus the suburbs thing. It's either a destination where, hey, I'm hitting a bar and then I'm going to a game, and then maybe I'm hitting another bar after a game, or I'm going downtown.
Dave, you just said it. Demographics.
Yep.
Right. Demographics. Detroit. Right. Now, if you're looking at the demographics, and I don't want to just keep harping on Detroit, and I mean, how we've been spiked by the coronavirus. And if you're going from bar to bar to bar, and then you passing this to this owner of the bar, and just say you're passing cash too at that bar,
Right.
and you're spreading. I think you're spreading that coronavirus, Dave, that COVID-19 around.
Well, so one of the things that's been interesting is the CDC has now backed off a little bit about the transmission of COVID via surface.
Yeah, I saw that. Now they saying it's mainly person to person at this point. So, they want to keep everybody's social distancing. They saying that mostly, like I said, they surfaces is not as much of a big risk as much
don't
as
get me wrong,
somebody around you.
Dude,
like you walk on somebody.
I'm not going cash when as little as I've left the house. Like I'm the guy I've been guy that's been using Shipt and Instacart, and I'll have things brought to me fine. But like the couple times that I have gone out to, like, because I had to go get something, dude, I'm using a card. I'm using my debit card. I'm using something like I want to minimize, dude. Because for the same reason, I don't want to give them cash because I don't want them giving me cash back. I don't want.
Exactly.
like my day job, I'm an IT guy, and I'm all about like security and risk management and risk profiling and that kind of stuff. So to me, like risk analysis is a big thing, and as much as you can do to minimize your risk points, I'm all about it. Like especially
Exactly.
like I've got a son with asthma, and
Yeah.
and so like he's in one of the high risk categories for that. God forbid he gets something that affects his respiratory system on top of his asthma. And so yeah, no, that's a big concern for me. And so that whole risk mitigation thing is huge.
But
Yeah.
we going off the CDC studies, and in CDC studies, I don't really know if they're accurate or not in what they're doing right now, because we hear this and then we go from one extreme to another extreme with the CDC studies. I'm sorry that I stepped off our topic.
Yeah, no, dude, it's a good conversation. And I mean,
Yeah.
I guess here's my take on it, because I mean, here's the other front. Like, I have a biochemistry degree. I really wanted to get into science and all that stuff. Science evolves, like, and I think that's been the biggest issue that I think everybody has with this state of emergency thing and with everything that's going on, is everybody wants a signpost that says, "Hey, here's where everything is going to be fine. Here's where everything is going to end, and everything will be well." Science doesn't work that way. I mean, there's so much with this virus that we still don't understand exactly when it came to this country. We still don't understand, exactly how many strains are out there. Now you've got this new shit that's just cropped up. That's
Right.
it's a side effect virus that's affecting kids in New York City, and I believe there's a dozen cases here in Michigan that are specifically it's kids
Right.
that have they know it's related to COVID, but they don't know they don't know much more about it, and it's taking kids out. And so like that's the issue, is that like everybody thinks, like in criminal trials, like I've seen a lot of DAs complain. They call it the CSI effect, where everybody wants DNA and perfect matches and this and that, and they expect all the evidence to be there. Okay, that works cute when you have a 1-hour TV show and everything gets wrapped up in a nice neat bow, but real life doesn't actually work that way.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was gonna say. Hey, this is real life.
Yeah.
TV is TV. Like there was a movie out called Contagion, right?
Mhm.
And Lawrence Fishburne and a couple of the other stars are gonna tell you how to live your life and everything based on a movie. You cannot tell me how to live my life based on what movie. I mean, Contagion.
Yeah, based on what your script writer said to do. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
No, that's very true,
and that's
though.
why I have so many different, feelings about it, because it's like like you say, it's like it's different strands, it's this mutation, this, that, this, and it all makes it like it's scary, but at the same time, it makes you feel like, okay, nah, enough is enough. Like now, I'm starting to feel like it's too much.
Yeah, now
else
you're just
is
messing
going
with me.
on.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean it's like I've always said, don't live your life in fear. But you know what? Is there really a need to juggle chainsaws? Like, just be able to balance those two things out.
Okay.
Exactly.
Well, Dave, like before this pandemic, before they shut everything down, this is my take. I was how can I put this to you? Okay, people were socializing, right?
Mm-hmm.
People were out here socializing. I mean, I was at the bar up in Lansing, with a friend drinking. We were at a bar eating, and then all of a sudden, one person, Rudy Gobert, the basketball player, NBA player. You remember this?
Yep.
When Rudy Gobert announced that, hey, I got the coronavirus, and then everything just shut down. And I just don't understand. I can't put my hand on it. Why did everything shut down because of Rudy Gobert?
So,
I mean, things were going to happen and death was going to happen. Like they say, more people die from the seasonal flu than the coronavirus. Why couldn't we just live our normal lives? And
yes and no. So
Okay.
so on my show that we do, we had a really good, we had an infectious disease expert that came on, and for about an hour and a half, it's a long thing to watch, because I usually recommend people watch it instead of listen to it, because he's got slides and graphs and charts that he presented at Harvard like the week before he was on our show.
Okay.
And the Rudy thing is a little coincidental because it's like that happened at the same time that a lot of new data started to come out. And so like it's like those two things happened around the same time. And dude, and I was in the exact same boat. Like I'm one of those people that did a 180 on this, and I freely admit that
Right.
when this first hit, I was completely cavalier about it. I was like, hey, you know what? Drink your Vernors and wash your hands, and everything's going to be fine. This is Michigan. We're tough. The Saturday night before the lockdown, I was bouncing around downtown Detroit. I was in the apparatus room, and I posted, "Oh my God, I can't believe there's only 4 other people in this entire bar." I bounced around to a couple other bars. I went to a couple places in Hamtramck, and I had this whole long post about, folks, if you're ever looking for the best service you've ever had in your life, and you want, like, people will be, the staff will be incredibly attentive and make sure you tip your asses off, get your asses out because now's the best time to do it. And then 2 days later, the lockdown happened. And that's because like, that's when the science started coming out. That's when we started to learn about the infection rate. That's when we started, like, I learned so much listening to this guy. And that's kind of one of the things they're keeping an eye on now. It's what they call the RT rate, which is it's the transmission value, basically, where they want it below 1, which is like, so for every 1 infection, they want to see less than 1 subsequent infection, where for the longest time, right around the beginning of like mid-March through April, we were at like a transmission value of like 3, where for every 1 person that was getting infected, they were infecting at least 3 other people. And so that's the kind of stuff they were worried about. And I mean, it's fascinating. I'm a geek, so but to me, like the
No, it's
math and
good.
the math and science behind all this stuff of what goes on and how it went on is like that's what, and like I said, that's the kind of stuff that even then they didn't. The Saturday I was out, they didn't know it. By the time that Monday, Tuesday, when that press conference hit, that's when the data started getting analyzed, and they went, oh shit, hold up, no,
We
pump
got a
the brake.
problem.
Yeah, we need to pump the brakes and start putting a cap on this, because keep in
Right.
mind, the lockdown and the stay-at-home order and that kind of stuff have never been about stopping the virus, because
Right.
because this is a coronavirus. It's like the common cold. It's never, even when there's a vaccine, it's never going to go away. It's always going to be around. The real reason for the stay-at-home order and all that stuff was to limit the transmission and let the hospitals catch up. Because, like, you look at all the projections, and that, again, one of the things he got into with us is, as these restrictions start lightening up, we're going to see waves. We're going to see,
Certain spikes.
yep, we're going to see
spikes.
we're going to see spikes come back. The hope
Exactly.
is, because, and that's what I keep telling people. Look, just because they're telling you that it's time to go back to work, or that it's, it's okay for 10 people to gather in groups and that kind of stuff, that doesn't mean it's safe. That just means there are ICU beds available for you. And I mean, that's really all that means.
That's realistic. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's realistic. But you know what? I'm gonna tell you something, Dave. This young lady said, let's go over my family's house. I mean, they're having a family get together. We're having a family get together, and I said, I'm not going. So she says, oh, it's just my family. Oh, I don't care. Your family can have the coronavirus also.
I don't know them. I don't know what they've been doing. I don't know. Yeah.
I don't know what they've been up to lately. I understand
Exactly.
But to your point about the flu, though, so I mean, like, your typical flu season, like, averages about 60,000 deaths per year. Like, and that's in a hardcore serious flu season. It's usually down around 20. So like, we're up over 90 now just from this, and that's the part that I think a lot of people miss. Because everybody was like, oh, New York City, yeah, 600 people a day are dying from coronavirus, but what's the big deal? New York City has 600 people dying a day every day anyway. Okay, well, when you suddenly double that number of people dying every day, that's the problem. So it's 90,000 people that died from coronavirus on top of the people that died from an abnormally strong flu season too. And that's the other part, is you've got all these people that were like, oh, I had this back in November. Oh, I had this back in October. No, you didn't. You just had the flu. Like, this was a super strong.
I was saying the same thing they were saying, Dave. Not sorry to cut you off.
No.
I was saying the same thing when I had the flu in November.
Yep.
And I was like, man, I'm sick. I can't even get rid of this, you know?
Yep.
And I said, man, I probably had the coronavirus. And you're probably right. I never probably really did have a coronavirus, you know?
Yeah. See, that's,
because,
and like everything they're saying now is that's probably too early. Like the first known cases, and again, this is science evolves. Like they thought it was February. Now they know that as of I believe it's the first week of January, there were people walking around the Consumer Electronics Show out in Vegas that were spreading it. And that's what, that's one of those quote unquote super spreader events, because people there, like you've got 100 and some odd thousand people there that then fly back all across the country, bringing it with them.
But don't that make you a little suspect? Because to me, I just be feeling like, like I said, I understand the science, and I understand how, diseases can mutate and they can continue to transform into different type of, variations. But it just seemed like it's just too. It just seemed like it's just too much. Like, it's like even the numbers, like, okay, I know it's been a lot of corona deaths, but I still don't believe it's been as many as been reported. Like, I do believe it's been some, but I do believe some of those deaths was probably unrelated or from other things that just got thrown.
That's what I was going to hit on too. Exactly.
I do believe that a lot of this it's all just being like gathered up together. Like, it could be, maybe you did have whatever, but I feel like because of corona, the fright and the scare, I feel like a lot of stuff is just getting bunched up into the same bag. Like, okay, corona, just chalk it up for different.
Yes and no. Because I've gotten into this conversation a bunch too, is keep in mind, nobody has ever died from AIDS. Not a single person has ever died from AIDS. They died from complications or things they caught because of having a suppressed immune system because of AIDS.
Like the pneumonias and stuff. Yep. Yeah, I get
so
that.
You see things like, oh my God, my uncle, and you see the posts on Facebook, oh my God, my uncle died of congestive heart failure, and they listed it as a coronavirus because the hospital wants more money. That's not really how that works. It's one of those things where, so you've got a disease that attacks the respiratory system. And so if your lungs are basically filling up with mortar, that puts a lot of strain on your heart. And
right.
So, yes, you may have died of congestive heart failure, but it was caused by your contraction of COVID-19. Like if I shoot you and push you off the top of a 30-story building and you land in a pool, did you die of drowning, or did you die because I shot you and pushed you off a building?
Right. Okay.
I get that. That makes sense.
Now, with saying that, it sparks another question for me, because now you said that, like, okay, AIDS, people don't die from necessarily the so-called disease, they die from the complications. But once again, is it safe to say that some of these things are put out there for that purpose? Because we all know that, we heard the stories about AIDS and HIV and how it might have been constructed.
Oh, was it an engineered virus?
Right.
I mean, everything you see says no. And this is one of those things where like I said, I've got a biochem degree. I put my faith in science. Everything they say, everything that.
You put your faith in people, not
no.
I
put my faith in science. I have no faith in people.
Exactly.
So you don't think that can be engineered? I'm Dave.
Could it have been? Absolutely.
Possibility.
But do I think it was? No.
Yeah.
No, it's like, to me, and that's, again, it's the risk management thing. It's ideal in possibility versus probability. Is it possible that it happened? Anything is possible. Is it probable that it happened? Given all the vectors and the tracing they've done, and they've been able to trace it back to this one event, and they traced it back to at least 7 other people in that same market. No, it doesn't seem likely.
But Dave, throughout the history of America itself, and just everything it's been capable of, responsible for, like, in that sense right there, like, I just don't understand.
Oh, I understand the skepticism.
Right. And
I'm grabbing more ice. I'm still listening.
Okay. That's why I just get how people, like how you say, like, yeah, I don't believe it's true. But it's like, I don't understand why people don't believe, like, and I think that's the problem. We don't want to believe that somebody could be that malicious or that evil that they would want to do something, that horrid to people. But it happens. Like, it's people right now, like all these, think about the Vietnam War and World War II and all of these things that's been, that's been created for purposes, for certain groups or people. But so many other people are sacrificed and died, just like this coronavirus. What's the difference between this and 9/11? To certain people with military mentalities, you just a casualty of war. You just you know what I'm saying? It doesn't matter. So it's like, yeah, you think that the people wouldn't kill 100,000 people? Please, you know what I'm saying? It's been done over and over and over and over.
But you know what? I think that's a good conspiracy theorist on your part. But I do believe what she's saying can happen, because I believe that the government, germ warfare, chemical warfare can happen, and they can get away with it. I mean, opposed to dropping a nuclear bomb on somebody, why not put a virus out here? Because why does 150 countries get attacked by the same virus? Just so it's almost like simultaneously. I don't get that.
Within under 90 days.
Well, but yes. So I guess a couple of things. One, so you've seen, I mean, if you look at the mathematical models about how quickly even like a normal flu strain, because there's only 4 strains of or 4 families of strains of the flu.
Right.
This happens every year. Like, so like if you watch the mathematical models of like how quickly a flu strain pops up and then makes its way around the world, and this is why flu shots, I don't necessarily believe in them. Because you've got people, basically it's a bunch of doctors that get together and say, okay, here are the strains that we think are going to hit a year from now. And because it's got to be a year from now, because you have to get the vaccine manufacturers time to create and build all those vaccines and get them distributed and get the shots out and all that stuff. Well, by the time a year from now happens, maybe you didn't pick the right one. Maybe they mutated a little bit more. And so like watching how fast those spread around the world, it's very, because again, the flu is a coronavirus. It's no different than COVID. So I mean, it's those transmission rates, that doesn't surprise me in the least. But to your other point, like that's when you start getting into human psychology, in which I am not an expert. I don't pretend to be, whatever. But like I've read enough to be dangerous, where like when there is a major event that happens, the human brain and the way our brains work need a huge thing to blame it on.
Mm-hmm.
Like when 9/11 happens, you can't, like the human brain has a hard time. Okay, it's 20 dudes from Saudi Arabia that were jacked up and they were extremists and they pulled this off. Done. No, it had to have been our government doing a false flag operation. I mean, there are people out there, or the JFK assassination is actually the prime example. People cannot fathom the death of Camelot by one idiot loser who like couldn't get his shit together, and that idiot loser killed the president and brought down Camelot in the United States. And that's why all those conspiracy theories exist. It's a huge, so it's hard for us to handle that from an
why is it so easy as well for people to just accept whatever being told? Because I honestly believe majority of the people will accept what's being told if it makes semi-sense. Just like they keep telling you since the 50s that UFOs are, weather balloons and all of this crazy stuff, when you know for a fact that it's not. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it's easy to push.
You want to know why? Here's my theory. You want to know why? Look at how the public is handling something. Like I said, we're at like apocalypse level easy right now, and we're doing a shitty job handling it. Can you imagine? Can you imagine if like a UFO landed on the White House lawn right now and how sideways shit would get?
Oh my God!
That's why they don't tell it. That's why they don't tell us shit. Like that.
Exactly.
But Dave,
why would they come out now while we have this pandemic? Why would the Navy come out now
the Pentagon,
spread the news about UFOs? And they're saying now we have intel that we want to share with everybody. But now why you want to share it now while we have this pandemic?
So I forget who it is.
On.
I forget who it is.
It was the Navy.
It was actually private footage that was on. It's the singer of an old 90s band. I can't remember the band. Forgive me. We talked about it a couple weeks ago, but it's the singer of a band that actually owned that footage and was saying he was going to release it anyway. And so the Pentagon basically just said, all right, whatever, we'll just release it first. Here you go.
Mm.
And so, I mean, it's like, personally, I absolutely believe in alien life. I think it's a very egotistical
Me too.
point of view to
I
think
mean,
that we're alone in this universe.
This is a big universe.
Yep.
This is a big
Exactly.
universe. So there has to be some type of life form out here other than us.
Yep.
We're not here by ourselves.
No, honestly, my whole
That's
theory is that we're the annoying Jehovah's Witnesses of the universe. Because, and so that's why everybody avoids us, because we keep sending out all these radars and satellites going, could we talk to you for a moment? Hi, are you
And
there?
they like, baby, we
Hey, can we
got
talk to you?
touchscreen holograms. Yeah, they tried to hear that crap.
Yeah, no, ignore those annoying Earth people. Forget that nonsense. Yeah.
I mean, there's so many
Exactly.
conspiracy theories. Now they're talking about there's a parallel universe. What goes forward goes backwards.
Oh, that's been a long-standing theory. That's been a scientific science theory for a long time.
I heard that a long time ago, because when you start thinking of time and, you know, wormholes, all that, you get into that time traveling and stuff, you really get into that, which I believe all of that. I honestly, most of that stuff that most people don't believe, like you say, Dave, because a lot of people psychologically don't want to have to believe that they are here with some other life form. Some people can't even handle that thought, you know, and I get, like you said, why the government keep things for certain people, because they mentality can't even handle something that severe or that, you know, far out, which, like, some people that's level-headed like me and you and probably C, we can probably handle an event like that.
Probably C. Thank you, Keith.
Well, I ain't heard you say you believe in aliens yet. Well, you did say you believe in something else.
I do
I'm
believe.
just saying, like, you know, some people, they just want to live their life. They want to go to work. They want to drive their car. They want to just do what they do. They don't want to think about the science or anything other than that. That's more or less for us nerds.
Basically, people are living in a bubble. You know, they don't want to come outside the bubble. That's what you're saying, basically. You know, everybody's in this box, and they don't want to come out the box, because if they see
you know, something like this, like, you know, this pandemic. So how are we gonna handle something even more, you know, thrash or severe? Like he said, aliens just parking on the grass, like, hello, you know, what's up? You know, I saw your TikTok video. You know, like, you got the, you know, people can't handle that. Just like most people can't even handle paranormal activity, just ghosts and just thinking about stuff like that. You know, so. It makes sense. I just, you know, and it's hard for me because my mind, I'm intrigued, I'm ambitious, I want to learn so much, I need to know everything.
You got to embrace it. Basically, you got to embrace it. If you don't embrace it, then you'll never know. You know, people are afraid to embrace the unknown. I'm not afraid to embrace the unknown. If you embrace it, you know, you can accept it. But if you can't embrace it, you can never accept something you never know anything about.
I'm a huge fan of question everything, but I'm also a huge fan of accept logic.
Exactly.
Like that, like that's
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Some things you just gotta leave alone and accept it for what it is and keep it going. You know, just like certain things like this, it's like some of this stuff is kind of like out of your control. Like, what can you do? You know what I'm saying? Really. But you can try to adapt to the situation, make the best of it, and, you know, move forward. But I just don't want to be somebody's guinea pig as far as testing me for vaccines.
I've said that all along. I'm gonna wait for outside 2.0. Like when things lighten up a little bit, I'm gonna let everybody else go be the canary in the coal mine and go figure out how the bar scene looks, and then go and Adrian, I'm like, you know me, like you know, I'd do a show and then I'd go hopping around Detroit and Hamtramck and hit all the little dive bars and have a great. That's that. I lived for that.
Right.
Not yet. Like I'll wait and see how things play out. I mean, like, you know, even like I've had, you know, I actually probably had like 5 or 6 shows contact me today about, oh, hey, are the studios open? No, that's not what that order meant. That no, they're not open yet.
You know, my dilemma is, Dave, the barbershops. I want to go to the barbershop so bad, you know.
Right.
But hey,
Woo.
I said I'll cut my own hair for now, and I'll wait until like August or September and see what the numbers are, and then if it's okay, then I'll go. But in the
Right.
meantime, I'm not gonna chance it right now.
No, so and
Yeah.
honestly, like that's my biggest issue with all the people that are so forceful about opening things up is you're being incredibly selfish and you're only
Right.
looking at it from your own point of view. You're looking about how that impacts you. Like when you say, "Hey, I want my barber/salon to open up." Okay, well, what does that mean? That means that manager and that staff now have to start coming into work and putting themselves in close quarters with people. That means that their suppliers and distributors need to have to make sure that they're at work and they're getting those deliveries
Mhm.
and coming in close quarters with people. That the manufacturers have to be ramped up. So, I mean, it's not as simple as, hey, I want to go get a haircut. It's
Right.
what impact does that have on other people that I think
Mhm.
so many people aren't paying attention to and don't understand.
Yeah, like you said, it's all about self. They just thinking, well, I want my hair done or cut. But like you said, if I do it for you, I got to do it for everybody else.
Mhm.
So that causes a whole situation. And I do understand that. Like I know, because I got my little hair issues, but I was like, ain't nobody doing nothing. What's up? What they doing? But I do understand that. Like, and I respect people who saying, you know what? I'm choosing not to do this because I'm gonna be cautious and this and that, and I respect that. Then I do see some people though. I hear about barbers and some hairstylists that are going up like, well, we ain't open, but if I could come to you, but it's gonna be a premium cost.
Yep.
So basically, you want to double the price. Just
Right, a
you know what I'm saying? So
$25
like, how
haircut
bad?
costing $50.
Yep.
Exactly. So like, how bad did you really want that haircut that you willing to pay? And you're not going nowhere. You know what I'm saying? That's
Right.
crazy.
Yeah, I mean
Where you going?
every single one of the show hosts that I talked to today said the exact same thing. Well, what if it's not everybody? What if we just come in? And I would just start laughing because for that very okay. So
Mhm.
everybody asked me that question. So it's not just you. It's
Right.
it's okay. It's these. Yeah. I mean, at that point, what? Yeah. And
Exactly.
that's the thing. I mean, I look at it from a business owner perspective. We've had our studios shut down for a little over 2 months now.
Right.
And it drives me nuts not having them open because I mean, again, I loved
I
seeing
can
people.
imagine it's hard.
Well, I mean, I loved seeing people, and I loved like being in the studios, interacting with shows, and that kind of stuff, and I loved everything about that. But again, don't live in fear. Don't juggle chainsaws. Like it's
Exactly.
that risk profile thing just isn't there yet.
Right.
Yeah, it's not. It hasn't been confirmed where it's safe, and you just don't want to end up in a situation where you somewhere trying to fight for your life because shoot, you just wanted to go to the studio and do your podcast with
That
somebody.
was my like when we made the decision to shut down. That was my rationale. Was like heaven forbid that one of our engineers or one of our show hosts or one of our show guests catch this shit because of a stupid friggin' podcast. Like I could never live with that
You
on my
couldn't live
head.
with yourself. Yeah,
I
I was
I
just about to
I
say that. You
I, I
can't live
couldn't
with yourself.
I couldn't live with that on my head. I couldn't.
Exactly. Because you just like, you thinking like, damn, if I would have just did X, Y, Z. So yeah,
Well, yeah, I
that
mean,
is a
you look at the
little
numbers that came out this week that said if they would have started the shutdown orders a week earlier, it would have meant a 30% reduction in the number of deaths.
Wow,
mm,
that's deep.
And so
yeah.
like that's one and that's one, again that's one of the things that the guy got into is that if you look at and they were using China as the example where if because of the rapid infection rate of this disease, if they would have started their lockdown a week earlier, they would have cut it by 25%. If they would have waited a week later, it would have been 9 times what it was. And
Oh
like
my God.
that's how crazy this math is and how like I said, that's a lot of the stuff that I don't think people get. Like it's the you got idiots cutting hair on the steps of the Capitol building and all that stuff, trying to make a point. And I mean, I just like I don't
Right.
think these people get it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Just
they
like you
say,
said,
what?
it's not personally affecting them yet, or it hasn't,
Mhm.
like you said, got hit home, as they say. So I think a lot of people are just like, look, and like you said, they selfish, or like it's areas I believe that it's people that are low risk
Mhm.
areas that feel like, oh, well, we don't have as many cases as the city, so we should be allowed to be functional and do the things that we do. But just like you said, what if this farmer, is bringing
Mhm.
some supplies to Detroit or
Or
wherever
gets
city
or
that they
gets a
got the
delivery from
company.
an infected area. And
Can
Exactly.
I
that's
ask you a question? Like the low risk area, what do you mean by that, Adrian?
It just means that it hasn't been as many reports of people affected with coronavirus or as far
Right.
as deaths
Because
or
I
anything like
know I was here in Detroit, and I know I was out in Birmingham a week ago, and I see more people outside walking in close proximity with one another
Mhm.
opposed to Detroit. Because I mean I go up
I
to
agree.
Birmingham a lot, and they're walking around the park and stuff. In fact, this is around Maple or 14 Mile area.
I don't think that's a low impact area. I think that's to some degree arrogance and entitlement,
Right.
Yes.
where they don't think it's going to impact them, and
Yeah.
that's a big thing.
Because I've seen that too in a lot of neighborhoods. I guess if you want to call them middle class, upper class, etc. It just seemed like I was down. This was like a month ago when it was really kind of still extra. I seen like I was riding down in Dearborn, and it was just like I seen kids riding. But I just thought it was a regular summer day. Okay, it was people outside mowing their lawn, riding bikes, but just all just like. I guess in their community, maybe they feel like, well, because a lot of those communities where it is a culturally based, I do feel like they feel like, okay, well, we got more control over what's going on in our
They feel
community.
insulated.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's like, well, we could do this here, but just don't go do it over there. And I still think that's just being naive because once again, people don't understand that cross contamination, period,
Mhm.
it can happen in the blink of an eye. Like you could just anything, it's so quick, and they don't get that.
Exactly.
I mean, can you imagine being in a studio right now and somebody sneezes?
Right, because I'd be looking like this.
Can you imagine?
You'll freak out. You'll really freak out.
I tell you, because like a month or two ago, I was at a gas station, and this guy, he coughing, sneezing, you could just hear all the mucus and everything just all in him, and I'm just looking like, really? You just go do that? And he asked me to change, like, get out my face, okay? Like,
Right.
he was by the door. I didn't even want to go out the door. I'm like, because I'm just
But
thinking of
you know
all
what
the
I tell people
myths
like that? You know what I tell people when
looking
they
for.
start to ask? I'm sorry. You know what I tell people like that when they start to ask? I say, listen, step away, just stay back. You know what I'm saying? I just before you can even say anything, I'm like, stay back.
Right.
And
Because
you gotta be stern with it.
and you got some real mentally ill people walking around here, and because we, facilities and whatever, and they really just they're really, they're mentally ill, and they will do stuff, cough on you, touch you, because they just going through whatever episode they going through, and because of this pandemic, I'm sure even more people aren't getting the treatment they need, because we was just talking earlier, see about how the NSO and the homeless shelters have been,
Mhm.
pushing people out of those areas into different areas, and then some of them just wandering the streets. You know what I'm saying? Just whatever.
But
And
don't you
you
think
don't
they
know
have
if
a
they
high rate?
have.
The homeless, they have a high rate of COVID-19, and then
I
I
feel
used to
like they
always give
immune
people
system is good.
I I used to give them money all the time, but I noticed I had to stop giving them money and having people come on up to my cars because we have a big problem with the homeless, and they're all out here wandering. So I said to
Mhm.
myself, man, what the hell? You gotta.
Exactly.
I think it's a big.
You
That's
gotta
a big. What? I'm sorry.
Yeah, because you get nervous. You don't know if they affected or if what's going on. But I do believe sometimes that homeless people, I feel like their immune systems is good because they just be around so many different germs all the time. Different people that they have to have built up a strong.
You know what? I got to disagree with you on that. For the simple fact is, how are their immune systems going to be built up? And you're not getting the proper dietary care. You're living on the streets. Your immune system is weakened. So no, I don't believe
Well, I
that.
mean, if you saying it by sickness, yes, but I'm saying as far as them just contracting different germs and stuff, I don't
Okay,
see.
well,
I don't where they. I don't know. I see them still moving around throughout the
they're
winter,
moving.
spring, fall, summer. They still out there.
Right. Okay, good. I'm glad you said that because like you said, they're moving around. They could be the carriers. Like you could be the carrier. I could be the carrier.
Okay, that's true.
Yeah, but you
That's,
got to look at them. They could be carrying it because they're moving from post to post to post to post throughout this city, and they could be the major carriers of this.
that is true. We never know. But, we will definitely, I do want to give a couple shout outs to before we do leave. I got, personal protection equipment for kids. It's a program going out there, asking for donations via Cash App at Provide PPE for the kids. I will post it as well. But that's just to keep kids with face masks and things of that nature, because we don't think about the children a lot, and they need to be protected as well. Here's the flyer if you want to. Some
Here,
people
hold
think
on.
it's
Let me. I'll throw that up as spotlight. There you go.
all right, thank you. So yes, I want to make sure we get the kids the protection they need. If it's, food or, just masks, anything, any type of disinfectant. Like you said, David, it's a new strain going around that's affecting children. So we definitely want to make sure we are, protecting them as well. I also want to give a shout out to Jewel Jones and S Boy. They did their annual giveaway. They usually have a big, uh like little barbecue, a little event for people to come out and donate things. But this year they collected a lot of supplies for everybody, and people was able to come out and just, pick up stuff. So it was a really great event. It was on the 20th.
Awesome.
And that was really good. So I wanted to give them a shout out as well. And I'll be continuing to highlight people doing things and different organizations that's helping and, just making a difference in the community. And if there's
Real
any
positive. I like that.
thank you. Any ending remarks you want to give out? See?
No remarks. I mean, it was awesome. I love the show today. This was really nice. I like to
And
do this again.
we would
Definitely.
definitely like to welcome you back anytime. And I appreciate you on here, and I hope that, people was able to gain some information or just get a little kickback and have a laugh, whatever the case is. But until next time, we will see you guys.
Oh, by the
Maybe
way,
not on Friday.
Dave.
Yeah.
I enjoyed you, man. That was real informative, man.
It was a good chat, man. There was a really good chat.
Yeah, really great chat. I like that.
Honest Dave is always giving us the tea, the advice, everything. And I just had to go over some of these firework things. And I am like, yeah, Dave, they tripping, like all these shutdowns and,
Well, yeah, because now it's going to air on TV. I believe it's going to happen August 31st, but it's like you can't go. It's only going to be broadcast, and it's
like, and people gonna want to still, people gonna be on Belle Isle regardless. So they might be out there that night.
Well, honestly,
I'm sure they gonna shut it down.
So when the announcement hit Monday that that Whitmer was loosening up restrictions up north and around Traverse City, I said, watch, there's no chance in hell that we're not going to see another announcement before Friday that relaxes restrictions down here. For a very simple reason. There's no way in hell that you are going into Memorial Day weekend that you're not going to see people gathering. And so you might as well at least try to put a framework and parameters around it to try to control it a little bit, but loosen up enough that people feel okay still doing things. I still think you're going to see Belle Isle shut down this weekend. I still think you're going to see a lot of the parks and that kind of stuff, because people are going to go crazy with it. Because look, everybody's looking for a loophole. Now it's going to be, oh no, this isn't a gathering of 50 people. This is this 10 people, and that's that 10 people, and that's that 10 people, and we just all happen to be in the same area.
An explosion. Definitely an explosion.
Type of excuses. And that's why I was wondering, because just to add, you got Memorial Day, you got 4th of July popping right behind that. So it's definitely gonna have to be some lighter restrictions because, like you said, it's the hotter it get, the more people are gonna want to gather and
Yep.
do some, just be out, and not to mention, I forgot to even mention the fact that half the people been traveling to Atlanta and Ohio and all these states that's open to actually do something. They like, bye, we gone. Y'all want to extend the stay? We out of here.
Yep.
And a lot of people are afraid that these people are gonna come back and start affecting people. Because they're going out into these open places. Not only are they traveling there, you got to think how many other people traveling there too for the same reasons. So it just
and that's the danger with okay, so up north in Traverse City, relaxed. I saw 20 people on my wall that were planning on heading up there this weekend. Down here,
it's going to be warm Saturday too, correct?
Yep. And so now you've got an influx of people, and this is what they were always worried about. Now you've got an influx of people from a place that's had a higher rate of infection going to the place that you thought was safe with a lower rate of infection.
And it's going to spike.
What's that going to do?
Spike back up.
Spike.
Exactly.
And the sad part is,
so beautiful.
And you won't know for 2 weeks because that's the thing with the incubation period of this of 2 days to 2 weeks. You won't know for a while, whether or not it happens.
You already been and got exposed to the person, and you just like, and that's why they said it'd probably be like you said, David. It'd be different, it'd be up and down because of these small little things. That's okay. This person open, like you said. Now we going up here. Or like most people go up north anyway for the summer. They got boat houses, summer houses, all type of stuff. They want to go out and do fishing. So they're going to head up. And different other places in other states as well, So we'll be there. We'll be back here letting you guys know when something else happens. Right here to let you know, report it live. It's definitely been a great Friday, Dave. Thanks again, always.
Well, of course.
We love you.
Thank you too, Dave. I love it, man. This was beautiful.
Yep.
Yes. So you guys can
you too, Adrian.
Thank you. On Fridays, PodcastDetroit.com, and we'll be having this posted. If you didn't catch us, you can catch us later.
All right. We'll see you in a couple weeks.
All right. Peace.
All right, thank you. Peace.